to In My Feelings. This is an immersive experience where you'll enjoy some poetry, discussions, and live music. This event is organized by Mudhut.io. We are a creative storytelling platform aimed at offering people new experiences. We're able to do this by infusing new tech into entertainment and supporting artists to leverage tech in their work. We build community by hosting immersive events like this, focused on theatre, poetry, and more. We offer original content, client consultancy, and merchandising. We have our gift shop coming soon with items based on our original content. Today, we're pleased to have two poets gracing us with their poetry and sharing with us their experiences surrounding being in my feelings. We'll also be inviting you, members of the audience, to participate. We'd love you to collaborate with us by scanning the QR code and dropping out any comments, any thoughts, any feelings you have through listening to the poetry. And we'll be using an AI tool to actually generate some poetry after our discussion. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope you really enjoy today's session. First of all, we have Isaac, who is a London-based poet who has been writing poetry for over 10 years. Prepare to be taken to another space by Isaac's enchanting words and captivating presence as he graces our virtual poetry show In My
Cool. So, first of all, it's a privilege to be here, to be a part of this experience, I said. When the concept was introduced to me, it was one that was quite intriguing, one that really captured my attention because it's not something you see commonly. So, I'm really privileged and proud to be a part of this. I'm going to be showing a few pieces, all of which were written while I was in my feelings. And essentially I hope you feel something too. The first I wrote after a very trying time. We've all been in toxic relationships, and most not just me. And this one resulted in me finding out a lot more about myself and having to really sit with my feelings, not be able to dissociate or push things down. I had to sit down and face them essentially. So I hope that as you listen, either you can relate or empathize. First piece is titled Transition. Transition. Loss is a strange thing. The feeling of a vacuum where something once was. A hollow sensation. Sometimes it comes with a sense of relief, like a tumor being torn from healthy flesh. The creation of a space to replace what was killing you. But now, what do you fill this vacancy with? Or better yet, who? There's no way I'm going back to you. I'm on a mission to transition from the man you made me become into the man I was always intended to be. I am free. Free from the lies and deceit that I bought into. Free from the box that you craftily crammed my soul into. Free from being forced to drink this vial of bootleg love and God knows what else. You were sick. But rather than allow me to nurse you back to health, you cajoled me into drinking the same poison that ailed you just so we could have something in common. But now that this surgery has unburdened me, there's no way I'm going back. I am free. Thank you. Cool. So yeah, that first piece is pretty self-explanatory. It was a very toxic time or very difficult time, and yourself to the relationship, and a lot of us do that. We tend to try and become what we think the other person needs at the expense of ourselves, and that's one thing that I've learned from, and I hope anyone listening or tuning in can relate to. And if you're in that situation, remember that you are good. You may have things that you're striving towards in the person, but you don't essentially need to conform. Compromise is essential, but not conformity, so don't lose yourself, is my advice. This next piece is one that I wrote, again, deep in my feelings, trying to navigate my upbringing and my relationship with my dad particularly, because that's something that shapes the man I am today. Bit of context, I'm recently engaged and have a 5-year-old. I'm trying to be the best dad I can to her and for her. But I'm realizing that there's a lot of things I didn't have growing up that I want to give. And it took me looking backwards and unpacking certain things to be able to understand what it is I needed to equip myself with to give to my daughter. So, in the process of excavating my emotions and my past, this piece essentially was born. It's titled Closure. You are not perfect, but you expected me to be. And being a child, your child, naturally I assumed that if I wanted to, all I had to be was like you. But as it just so happened, like a sandcastle too close to the sea, the more that we began to resemble, it seemed the less you could tolerate me. But thank God I could always count pretty well. I could always put 2 and 2 together. Red eyes and hot breath meant short temper and long threats. It meant blunt questions got sharp responses, and thank God for sharp reflexes, because if some of those jagged remarks had landed, I might have done permanent scars. My room was always a safe space. The sign on my door read, "Do not enter." I went on to list the names of every other person that lived in that place. But you. The lock on the back of my door saved me from much more than I could have ever taken at that time. Yet, I craved your approval. I remember painstakingly working away during my break, and a work of art I thought would paint joy in your face after returning from a long day. I paid attention to every detail. Damn near finished my eraser fixing mistakes. I was hostile towards my mates trying to break my concentration. This is for my dad. You should have seen me walking home with my masterpiece. You'd have thought I was guarding the Queen's jewels. I didn't even take off my uniform. My mind was preoccupied with how and when I would unravel my currently most prized possession. Finally, after what felt like forever, you came home. Food wasn't the first thing on your mind. No time for high as a household today. Nah, man is hungry and man must eat. I understand. I waited till you were watching the news. I came bounding down the stairs 2 steps at a time, heart gushing with pride, a collage of hope and expectation spread across my face like a rainbow in the sky, only to lay my offering on the altar of your approval and be met with indifference. With one swift gesture, you swatted away my affection. I couldn't get so much as a well done. And this might seem like a little over-exaggeration, but Dad, I died a little that day. Don't get me wrong. You were not by any means a terrible dad. We even went out a few times. You took us to theme parks and holidays, to resorts. You taught me how to ride a bike, play chess, how to swim, change a fuse, the essentials. Taught me that people don't always take the advice that they give. And a man will be judged by what he does and not what he says. Your scrutinizing gaze and critical tongue taught me to hide my imperfections and creatively conjure crafty excuses in place of actually taking correction. And lest I forget, I must never, never admit any wrongdoing, because to do so is to admit weakness, and weakness is death. I feel like what you fail to realize is that children learn more from what they see than what they're told. Growing up, your word was facts, but looking back, can you realize the real lies you told? Like, if you ate my food for me, it'll still end up in my belly because you're my dad. Or, don't stand up and eat because the food will go to your feet. Or, don't mind your mum, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I can never cheat. You see, you may not realize this, but all of these were seeds that grew up into this rebellious tree, me. So all this defiance in my face is all your own making, my G. I don't want to sit here and ignore everything that you did for me. I can also appreciate you didn't have to stay and be a father to me as many others did. But when a man lies to your face and repeatedly hurts the person who you would gladly give your life for, it kind of puts a strain on the relationship. It took for Christ to enlighten me that our relationship is meant to mirror mine and his. And if I can't forgive you, what right do I have to be forgiven by him? And if I can't respect and honor the dad I can see, he probably didn't want anything to do with me. This is probably the toughest poem I've ever had to write, and maybe it's closure. That child within took a beating, but his heart still beats for you, Dad. I pray you're a better grandfather to my children than you were a father to me. In my heart, where once hatred was germinating, now hope blooms. I guess what I'm trying to say is ultimately, I still love you. I think that's probably like the second time I've ever performed that piece, and like, even reading it takes a bit out of me. But like, if there's one thing I've noticed, vulnerability begets vulnerability. So I am very much an advocate for vulnerable and open and authentic spaces where people can really be themselves and show their true faces, if that makes sense. My final piece, again, is inspired by my dad. So in this process of becoming a man that I am today, I had to have some hard conversations, and that essentially brought out different sides to myself and different sides to my dad that I've never previously experienced. And I let the piece speak for itself. It's titled Cry. I saw him bleed transparent fluid from his eyes. I stood, utterly confused. He was doing exactly what he'd always told me not to. What strange hypocrisy is this? He's crumbling before my very eyes. The entirety of his 6-foot frame trembling. What do I even do here? What do I comfort him? I looked down at my clenched fist. My immediate reaction to punch him. Him just get it together like he told me to all those times. It's like I'm emotionally dyslexic. I'm incapable of translating his feelings. Instead, I let him know I see him. I go against everything within me. I lift up his head and tell him it's okay. Let it all out. This is what being a man is truly about. Allow yourself to feel. Don't deny the pain is real. Embrace it. Look at it in its face and let it go. Let it all go. I see it as the weight of shame falls from his frame. He stands now, erect. Eyes still leaking but renewed in the knowledge that he hasn't lost anything. He is still my father. And ultimately, I love him. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac, for that very moving and captivating word. I think I speak for everyone when I say that we can probably all relate to a toxic relationship, be it a friendship or a romantic one, and also the path you reach probably early to mid 20s, where you go back into your childhood, delve back into those wounds you don't really want to go into, heal from that, forgive your parents, understand and accept both your flaws and their flaws, and make space for that healing to allow you to be a better parent to future generations. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for sharing your vulnerability and authenticity with us today. Next, we have Fumbi, who is a passionate wordsmith. Fumbi discovered the power of poetry as a sanctuary for her swirling thoughts. Though Fumbi doesn't write poems as often as she would like, each creation is a testament to her passion and her love for this art form. Her genuine devotion to the craft shines through in every line, invoking a kaleidoscope of emotions with listeners. To Fumbi, In My Feelings signifies an ongoing journey of self-discovery where she strives to strike a balance between over-analyzing her emotions and simply embracing them. As she continues to explore this practice, her poetry becomes a powerful conduit to express her true self. Before we invite Fumbi on, I would also like to remind the audience to please continue to drop your comments, your thoughts, and any poetry that you have in the chat section. We'll also use this to generate some AI after our discussion. Without further ado, let's welcome Fumbi. Okay. Wow. Thank you for that introduction. Wow, such words. Passionate wordsmith. I hope I can deliver. Hi everyone. I'm Fumbi. I am very, very much happy to be here with Madhat.io. Cool stuff. Like AI meets poetry. Come on. What a world. Anyway, in my feelings. Boy, do I live in my feelings. I do. And like Fanola said, I tend to overanalyze my emotions often. And more recently, I'm recognizing the importance of embracing rather than trying to analyze and get to a solution quickly. And so some of the pieces of work I'm going to be performing for you today are pieces I've written in the past. Some I have not written, I've not performed before. One I have, and others are fairly new. I think I have one new poem that I wrote recently. And so I'll be performing all of those for you. So my first piece today is titled Slowing Down. So here we go. My mind is always racing. I get lost in the moment, thinking of the next moment, the next minute, the next day, the next month, the next year. Ideas, visions, and dreams cloud my very existence. My chest constricts. Life is suddenly all consuming. I gasp for air. Then a whisper pierces. Then a whisper pierces through the noise. Slow down. Rest. I take a breath. Slow down. Rest. Slowly, I return back to this present moment, slowing down my mind, embracing the now, leaving the next. I can breathe again. Steady and slow, yet confident. I can breathe again. Slowing down, I regain consciousness. My mind calms and welcomes the peace. So I choose to slow down over and over again. Yeah, so that was slowing down. I wrote that when my mind was frazzled. I was overwhelmed with life. It's so funny because how I felt writing this poem is somehow where I was again last week. And I forgot that I had this poem. And now that I'm reading back, I'm like, oh gosh, I should have just gone into my archives and brought this out to remind myself that, like, slow down. You can rest. Take things easy. And rather than worry for the next, stay present. Stay in the present. The next poem I have for you is similar to slowing down. Again, I wrote it when I was quite overwhelmed with thoughts. This is untitled. I don't have a title for this one, unfortunately. but I hope you enjoy it. I feel like I'm drowning, trying to grasp for air, but my throat is clenched. I find myself sinking. I am like a plank adrift on the ocean, being tossed by the waves at whim. I don't know who I am. Surely this isn't my life. Then, awaken, body sore, my first breath is labored. I feel the sun kiss my skin gently. A gentle whisper grips my heart. Don't worry, I've got you. A gentle whisper grips my heart. Don't worry, I've got you. So yeah, that's Untitled. Yeah, it's Untitled. I don't have a title for it, but in the moments when life feels overwhelming, I try to lean into my faith, and in those moments, the gentle whisper is like it's like a little kiss of heaven to remind me that I do not do this life on my own, and that there's someone who watches out for me, and that for me is God, Jesus. He's there with me in the drowning, in the sinking, in the lostness of life. I am found, and I am not alone. So, yeah. The third poem I'll be performing for you is entitled The Willow. Now, The Willow is a poem I started thinking about sometime, I think last summer. I was walking through Hyde Park and I saw the weeping willow, the tree. And I've always wondered, if we could speak to the trees, what would we ask them? And I always wondered, okay, why is the weeping willow called the weeping willow? So this poem entitled The Willow is sort of like my conversation with the tree, or a child's conversation with the tree, trying to understand its thoughts. So this is The Willow. Why does the weeping willow weep? Why does the weeping willow weep? Does it weep for itself, its lover? For whom does the willow weep? The children of men are callous. They pay no mind to their kin or their own soul. For some, their hearts are sick. Yet it seems not one cares to heal. Not one cares to heal. Why does the weeping willow weep? I weep for the children of men. That's the willow. So I always assumed that nature, although silent, observes us, probably judges us a little bit harshly. And yeah, so I wrote that, and I feel like The Willow would be an anthology of me asking nature, or in this case, the willow tree, why it weeps. And now, my final piece for you tonight, it's a really short poem. I don't know if it's a couplet or a quintet. Don't really have a word for it. But this one's more nostalgic, a little bit more romantic, because we all love a little bit of romance, don't we? And it's a Wednesday night. We want to be cozy, and it's a little chilly outside. And so here is another poem of mine, also untitled, but I hope you feel a bit of nostalgia and romance with it. On a frosty night, I think of you. I dream of our life together. On a frosty night, I think of you. Thank you very much. That is all I have for you today. I hope you all enjoyed that. Okay, bye. Thank you so much, Fungi. I feel like I can definitely say confidently from both of you, definitely have a very vulnerable energy in the room right now. Thank you so much for being open and honest with us about your struggles and the way you've been able to actually navigate that. Sometimes it's not always about getting a solution, but slowing down, surrendering, understanding that help is available to us. We don't need to do every single thing by ourselves, contrary to what society maybe might have you believe. And help is available to us from other human beings and available to us from God, divinity, and the source that all is from. So yeah, thank you so much for that. I would like to invite both poets to the couch. Hi, Phoebe.
Hello.
Hi. How are you both doing? How are you both feeling after being so open with us?
Vulnerable.
I feel giddy, a little bit, a little giddy, excited, but also like, yikes, open at the same time. But yeah, all cozy. Gotta be cozy.
Open now. Yeah, I can definitely imagine. I would definitely say those words are quite like soul bearing. I know just from the conversations I have with people that we can all kind of relate to everything that you're saying and you're feeling, but I guess we're not always that honest. And even when we are, it's probably not to so many people or not to that depth. So it's really lovely to be in a different space where there's so much honesty from both of you. And it's great to see you both comfortable, doing that and showing that even with strangers, because we don't get that very often.
I think I'd be lying if I said it was the most comfortable. But I think, like I said earlier, vulnerability tends to beget vulnerability. You don't show all your cards until someone shows you theirs. I think it takes a lot to be the first person to initiate that. And kind of take that mantle on from my own personal growth. Like I mentioned, what I do, and that kind of be a role model for and a good example for. So I'm trying to show her that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to own how you feel and what you think and share that essentially. And that doesn't make you weak, it doesn't make you any less of a person, it doesn't make you a waste man or a doormat to be walked over. It just means that you know how you feel, you own how you feel. So yeah, it's hard because again, people could be looking at me like I'm some this, that, and the other, but I'm trying to emulate what it is I'm trying to put across to my little one. So yeah, that's what inspires me. How do you do it?
You see, I think for me, sometimes writing poetry is an outlet for me. It's a way of me putting pen to paper is me saying to the paper what I wish I could say out loud, what it is I'm afraid to share with even some of my closest friends or with my family. And I think the beauty with poetry is if you want to say, oh, I felt nothing and I just wrote this, you can get away with it. Truly, you can. But when you're then honest with the backstory, I think it adds a bit more depth to it. Because even when we lie and say like, oh, I just wrote this on a whim, when you perform it, when you say it out, or sometimes when you read it, you can feel the depth of emotion of what that person is trying to say. I studied English literature in school. I remember just reading it there and I'm just like, oh gosh, this guy must have been really going through it. And they want you to focus on the alliteration or whatever, but I think beyond the mechanics, it's the depth of emotion that's there. And it's like, it's easier to speak to paper than it is to speak to another person.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I would say definitely then you would get a sense of comfort from writing your poetry. I would say that it suits you in a way. I would like to ask you, Isaac, I know you've been writing poetry for over 10 years, and you've more recently had a daughter. What was kind of your journey like getting started? Kind of, I don't know if you kind of struggled with vulnerability initially. What was that journey like from you feeling like you had to be hard and tough and to moving to a space where you're actually comfortable writing and putting out your poetry before you had the, extra motivation of being a wonderful father?
Yeah. Thank you. I think poetry started for me when I got shipped to Nigeria.
Too much pain.
Gosh.
Think about it. Let's really take this on this. Yeah. So, like, your parents, who you love, utterly, essentially betray you.
Yeah.
Because they mislead you and believe in you're going on holiday, and then suddenly your passport's missing and you're stuck in school. So, you're thinking, what's going on? So, I love my parents, but I feel betrayed. I'm in a place where I'm supposed to be from, but I don't know anyone. And I've never lived here before. And I don't understand the mechanics of society. So I'm an outcast where I'm supposed to be welcome. So I don't necessarily fit in London because I'm black and I was born in the East End. But I don't necessarily fit in where I'm supposed to have been fitting in because I've never experienced the life that they live. There's a painful dichotomy that exists there. And then the frustration of all of that needed to go somewhere. Punching walls wasn't helping me. So I needed to find a different outlet, and I started to write stuff down. And like you said, the page doesn't judge you. You can just write it down and just leave it there. And what I found is, looking back at my old pieces, I can see where I was mentally and emotionally in the words that I penned down. It's like my version of journaling. In terms of sharing it, there's literally one of my exes who's still a really good friend of mine until now. She said, what you've written, a lot of people can relate to. You don't know who you're going to help by virtue of putting this out there. So even if it's one person that reads that and says, I'm not alone, it was worth it. I think I found difficulty when I started to try and monetize this and then it's like I was trying to get reactions from people and trying to see, oh yeah, that was sick, or that was a really good bar. But in reality, I should just be writing my authentic feelings and allowing the words to do what they do. So yeah, I think that's what's helped me get there, just the thought of I could be helping somebody with this.
That's really good. Happy to hear that you found a much more healthy outlet. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes our parents try to help us, but it has effects more than they know a lot of the time. And it's really great when we're able to actually face our pain, because that is what you're doing essentially by writing and showing the poetry. And that's something a lot of people find very difficult to do, because we all go through very difficult things in the human experience. And also lovely to hear about your journey with writing poetry, kind of figuring out, what you should do with it. Is it more of a hobby? Is it something you want to monetize? And, going through that.
I think the dream.
That's the goal.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Like, if I can make a living from poetry, I would be utterly fulfilled. I think I'd die a happy man. If I died in 5 years, I'd die fulfilled because I know that.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
Yeah, but in terms of what I want to do in my life, what I think I'm here for, because we're all here for a reason. We're blessed with different gifts to distinguish us from each other for a reason. There's something that you have to offer, that you have to offer, that I have to offer, that is uniquely ours. And I think if we don't put that out into the world, we're doing the world and ourselves a service. So I think poetry, based on my experiences, is what my contribution is, or what it is that God has given me to say to the world. It's my contribution. So if there's anyone out there that wants to sponsor me or invest in my channel, just put me out there, please. Yeah, by all means, do that.
Thank you. And maybe I'd like to ask you as well, kind of your journey. I know maybe you haven't had as much years experience, but poetry is something you love and really enjoy doing, and it's probably really cathartic for you. So could you speak more about that kind of journey and how you kind of got into the space of actually sharing your vulnerability in the form of poetry.
Okay. I think I did it earlier. Like I studied English literature in school, and I really enjoyed English lit. I love it. There was this one we had like songs of songs or not songs of ourselves. It was like the book from I did IGCSEs, and it was like what you had to study for to pass your exams. And yeah, because I had to do it, and I remember just like I clung onto that book. I think I even still have it in my like home back in Lagos, and just like going through some of the poems that we had to study. And I remember just like I actually really enjoyed this stuff. Like forget the illustration, like these people are writing about horses in the wild, and they're not just talking about the horses, they're just talking about like what they've seen with life, or some of them were incredibly religious people and just seeing the beauty of creation and God in that as well. And I just thought that was beautiful. Then one day at school, they called me up to write a poem for a poetry competition, and I was like, roses are red, violets are blue. You know, that was the first thing I came to. I was like, I don't know how to write one, and then I think it put me into a space of like, okay, what does it look like to actually write a poem? And at first, it was more academic, and as I grew older, poetry just became more of a thing where I had consumed so much of literature that now I've somewhat found a way to find my own voice when I write. And so writing for me was now more like, okay, based off my experience, based off what I know, how can I put this down onto paper and across that is uniquely mine, that is still my voice in that way. And I think 2017, I was gifted a journal. At the time I thought, oh, I've never journaled before. Then I found I've been journaling since I was 16.
Diary entries.
But when I read back some of my entries from when I was 16 and when I first got my journal in 2017, the way I wrote my prose was equally poetic in nature. And I was just like, okay, there's a lyricism in my prose. How can I do that on its own? Putting, poems, lyrics together. And I just explore. Again, I'm very inconsistent, so as the wind blows.
Yeah.
As the wind blows.
I think definitely comparing both your journeys, we can see that this is definitely a space, I think art in general, poetry, like it doesn't have to be a one size fit all. It doesn't have to be something where you need to have like 15 years experience for it to mean something to you and for it to mean something to other people as well. I think leading on from that, I'd like to maybe speak to you both about your experiences, connecting with other people through poetry. Have you got any kind of touching responses? Or maybe you go back and you read poetry from a couple of years ago, like what Isaac said about going back, and you also looking back at your previous like essays and things like that, kind of going back to those spaces. How do you feel looking back, and how do you feel is a reception maybe people are getting from your poetry?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I feel looking back? Whenever I look back at my old journal entries, or I happen to come across like a poem I wrote randomly, it's almost like, when you have a little tear at the back of your eye and like, oh my God, like that was where I was. And also like looking at where you are now, it's like I've grown so much and yet some of this is still the same. It's a bit bittersweet in that nature. But I think last year I performed at my first open mic since university, and some lady came up to me and was like, "That was so beautiful," and I was just like, "Oh, God, thank you." I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that compliment, but it's good to know that like when I see other people's pieces of work, whether it's their essay, their poetry, their music, their art, whatever it is, I know how it makes me feel and the impact it has on me. So knowing that someone out there can connect, can find solace in knowing that they're not alone and this is a shared experience, I think that in itself is good.
It's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Nah, I think, that's excellent, honestly. I think in my respect, my biggest love language is words of affirmation. It makes sense being a poet. But
No surprise there.
so like, if when I've written something and it evokes emotion in another person, it lets me know that it's purposeful. Like it wasn't in vain. Really going into the deepest, darkest, most uncomfortable parts of myself to bring out this poetry for you to consume. It wasn't in vain, essentially. I did a performance out of school last year, 2021, just after lockdown, for Black History Month, in Essex. There were maybe 5 black faces out of the and I'm talking like hard-hitting stuff about racism and stuff that I've experienced. And these kids, their eyes are watering. These are the kids who are hardcore racists. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, they've never seen it, because the thing is, you've got to look at it from their perspective.
Yeah.
I'm what, 28-year-old man comes into their school. And I don't dress like an adult. Like I ain't wearing a shirt or like a formal clothing. But I've come in and I'm speaking to them in terms that they understand. And I'm speaking from my heart. And I'm literally performing. You know when you perform it, you're very emotive because you're going back to the place where you were when you wrote it.
Yeah.
And the piece I was performing was literally like, I'm human. Like, look at me. Look at me. I'm just like you, sort of thing. And this little girl talked to me after and she gave me a hug and she was crying. And I couldn't believe it because, again, as much as we go into those places to write, we don't ever imagine it's going to have that sort of reaction come from it. So when it does, and even the stuff I posted online, people comment and say, this is beautiful, this is amazing, this is exactly what I needed to hear. It's affirming. And it helps me keep on writing. I think I lost my way at a certain point, like I mentioned. I started trying to write for the lyricism and the mechanics, essentially, as you mentioned, trying to sound good as opposed to meaningful. And it's very easy to do that, especially in this world of like likes and shares and you know, follows. But stick to the art, man. Just create for the sake of creating is my thing. And I think those authentic reactions you mentioned will happen organically. Those who are for you will find you. I think energy attracts energy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was just going to say that literally is one of my notes. Like, you don't like consciously know, but when you speak and you put that energy out there, like it's what people feel, and that's what makes them able to really relate back to you through poetry. So it's great that you're able to get that affirmation back, kind of coming full circle, and also then challenging the next generation, you know, through different media. I know art definitely affects all of us in different ways, but it's great to be able to go to school and touch like children, like they're basically the future. So for you to write that poetry and be able to share it with them and actually have that strong impact actually shows how important it is to have a place in society and events like this, and you know, sharing that experience with people. So thank you both so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us through the journey and contributing so much. I enjoyed myself so much today.
I had a good time.
Thank you so much for your poetry. Next, we're going to pick up some prompts from the chat. It's probably not too late to drop any kind of poetry you have. It doesn't have to be like a full-fledged, like you can drop a line if you feel inspired or to. If you have any comments or you relate to anything our poets have said today, we'd love to kind of see and hear from you, your feelings, and we will be picking up some lines to generate some poetry using AI. I'm very intrigued to see what we pick up and what we're able to produce today. And I'll be inviting Bumi to the couch to Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Aren't they just all so amazing? Like every poet one had on, like honestly, just fantastic. So in this part of the event, we're going to go into the interactive bit. So there should have been a QR code on your screens, or there's a link in the chat. And if you go to that link via the QR code or via the link in the chat, You can enter how you're feeling right now. Like, are you feeling happy? Are you feeling blue? Like, what are you in your feelings about? So, using the words you have entered, we're gonna generate some AI poetry. Also, if you want to know if you had a contribution into the poetry we're gonna do, I would say put in a nickname to see so you know you can put your stamp on it. So we're gonna generate a few lines based on like how people have felt about the event and what their entries have been. So it takes a few minutes to load, so we'll just give it a few minutes. So while it's loading, we'll do this a few times. So don't be shy. Still enter a word if you feel like it. Oh, so we have our first poetry. Actually, I think this is my entry. But the poem is, "My love is so sweet, it tastes of honey. I feel it down to my very bones. It spreads like a warmth all through me. The spark of love that never dies. My love is so sweet. It's so addictive. It's addicting. I can't help but to keep thinking of the moments that pass us by and the sweet things you say and do. My love is so sweet, like a melody of colors, a richness that blooms in its own way. It is a feeling that can't be continued, no matter how hard I try. My love is so sweet. I'm so blessed that I can share it with a heart like yours." So this was from my entry. If you watch the show regularly, you know I have an obsession with talking about love. I tried to stay away and I wrote warm, so I don't know how it captured my essence in this, okay? Because we've been doing this quite some time. Maybe that's why it's still a love poem. So we'll try this one more time and we will see what we get or whose entry we get. Yeah, so if you watch the show, you know that I'm going to stop talking about love, I promise, guys. At least till next year. Okay, so we have, oh, and the contribution is based on Isaac's contribution into how he's feeling today. So let's see what poetry our AI came up with. So it says, "As if my life is somewhat stilled, feeling fulfilled and feeling fulfilled, as if life is at rest, regaining my breath and my life is blessed. My soul is content, my mind at ease. The words of life seem to flee with the breeze. My purpose is clearer, my vision is bright. The things that I cherish come into sight. My joy and my peace, though once in disguise, now shine with delight in my own pair of eyes. My heart is content, my spirit is high. The promise of hope I will not deny. The troubles of life do still remain. I can never replace the joy I now sustain."
AI did that.
That was really good. Was your word fulfilled? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it came up with all that. That is very beautiful. So I don't know, should we do one more or should we call it a night?
One more.
One more. Okay, we'll do one last one. Let's see what we come up with this time. Ooh, so we have contributions based Lola. So it says, tired I am, exhausted I feel, debilitating a relentless will, thoughts heavy and sad, my visions a blur, my energy drained and my mood unsure, my sense of relief long gone since gone, my sense of relief long since gone, my muscles grow weak as I carry on, no one to turn to, nowhere to hide, each passing hour seems to magnify the weariness that's taking its toll, the living of strength, my heart's a heavy toll. In the need of refreshment, patience, and care, my heart and my mind must be spared. For this affliction, I must break free, for peace and solace, my plea. That's really nice. So yeah, I'm very extremely exhausted this week, and I feel like this really captures how I feel. Like the amount of times I've like slept on the train and missed my stop. So this is very good. So yeah, so that's all we have for today. So I'll hand over back to Folola to do our outro, and just make sure you like, follow, subscribe, comment on this video. Okay, thank you.
Hi again. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. I really hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you've actually felt a bit taken out of your environment, wherever you are, at home, in your bed, in your living room, whatever. I hope you felt immersed in the experience. I hope this has given you a bit of a different experience to what you're used to, and you really felt like you enjoyed yourself in the past hour. We are inviting you to sign up to our newsletter. I think there will be a link in the chat. We regularly have poetry shows just like this one and other events coming up that we mentioned earlier and much. So definitely stay tuned and stay tuned for our next poetry event. You can also stay in touch with us by email and social media such as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah. Thank you again so much for joining us. I think we're going to have our outro now. Thanks, guys. Good night.